Wagwan, wagwan, wagwan. It's your boy Big Truck. You already know what time it is. Back at you live. We got to get into this one. We really got to get into this one. Shout out to my man, Brother Dexter, for sending me this. He said, Big Truck, peep this out. And what's going on, what I have to share is everything that I've been saying, everything I've been telling you. Again, we have to look into things instead of looking at things. So we're gonna dive into this thing, and we're gonna talk about it. We got to chop it up. We got to chop it up. First off, peace, love, and blessings. Peace, love, and blessings to everyone chiming in. And man, yeah, this is the doozy. This is the doozy. And I just like to thank everyone for just coming on, spending time with your boy, and really, really open up yourself. And it's just a blessing. It's just a blessing to be here. I'm sending things out. I'm sending notifications out to each and every individual as we speak. Because this is very, very important. This is some very, very good stuff. And, I don't like for people to miss out on something good. I don't like missing out on anything good. Prayers goes out to my fellow officer Hawaiian, who had a situation at work. So I'm glad he's healing. I'm glad he's doing what he's doing so he can get back. Get well soon, King. So with that being said, grab your shoulder pads and your helmet and peep this out.
Of the protest, the anti-ICE protests in Los Angeles, a response from Gavin Newsom and Donald Trump. And I want to explain to you how what is happening in LA is political, more political than anything. And I'll break that down for you and explain to you how it's the same team and they're actually bouncing off of each other and helping each other. Well, things got even crazier in Los Angeles just last night. Of course, police presence has escalated. Donald Trump, we talked about this. He brought in the National Guard. At the same time, now there is a call to bring in 700 Marines. And I told you guys before that is a big no-no, right? To bring in the military to push back against the people. Like it's a big no. Like it's not something that is well received. And it also, and this has already been happening, but it also is going to give the public a more negative opinion about the US military, right? So again, all of these things are at play. We are going to start with this clip here from Fox News. This is Pam Bondi responding to what's happening in LA. Let's get into it.
Protect law enforcement and the people in LA.
Sean,
I just want to say shout out to my sister here. She's doing amazing things. Please go to her channel, show her some love. And her name was on the bottom, when you can see when she continues to share. But I got to give credit where credit is due. She did an amazing analogy on this, amazing thesis on this. But once again, these are one of the things that we talk about, okay? And as we begin to grow, as we begin to learn, as we begin to share, we begin to see things for what they are. Like I've always said, we have to look into things instead of looking at things. What's going on over here to the left? They got our attention. Everybody's so focused on what's going on to the left, but you got shit being done here, planned on the right. And it's just a matter of time. So this is why I say, sit back, relax, and open up your ear gate and peep game.
going to do is we are going to enforce the law regardless of what they do. Look at it out there. It looks like a third world country, and it's not. It's the United States of America. We are not standing for it. Donald Trump won't stand for it. And something else tonight, look at all those great men and women in the LAPD. We are going to protect them. If they will not protect them and prosecute people that abuse the LAPD in terms during a civil unrest under 18 USC 231, we can prosecute federally people who assault state law enforcement officers with a maximum of 5 years in prison, and we are going to do it. We are going to prosecute them federally. If California won't protect their law enforcement, we will protect the LAPD and the sheriff's office out there. Not only that, we have 9 open cases right now and more to come on assaulting federal officers. The Molotov cocktail cases that you've seen, we've charged 1, more to come, 3 outstanding. The looters, you saw they began to loot last night, going into 7-Elevens, going into drugstores. Typically, you don't charge those. We do under.
I guess a large number of individuals forgot that part. I guess that just went over their heads. However, I digress. We're about to go even deeper. Let's continue.
Federal law now. Under the Hobbs Act, we are charging robbery. You loot a business in California, you are looking at maximum of 20 years in prison. You spit on a federal law enforcement officer, no more. As President Trump said, you spit, we hit. Get ready. If you spit on a federal law enforcement officer, we are going to charge you with a crime federally. You are looking at up to 5 years maximum in prison.
And people don't think about that, especially working in a federal prison like I do. You, anything, I'm telling you, I'm trying to tell you, okay? If it once, I try to hold back from saying what I really want to say because I peep game and I pay very close attention to what's going on social media, and I sit back and I'm like, wow, all you have to do is do your homework. All you have to do is sit back and listen. Let's continue to feast. Trust me, I got more to say.
Okay. All right, honey buns. Let me explain to you what's really happening here, okay? Now, hold on one second.
Regardless.
Let's get her back up on the screen. So I just want people to understand the game that's being played, right? So as Pam Bondi representing the Trump administration, the Republican Party, it is their job to convince their supporters, to convince them that they are being tough on crime and they're going after the baddies. So, of course, saying things like, we're going to give you 20-year sentence if you're looting, like that type of thing. This is all an act, right? This is the same woman that told you that, oh yeah, we're going to pull out the list of the Epstein file. And you know how that went, right? So that's the game that the Republican Party is playing. At the same time, the Democrats in California are playing their own game, right? Gavin Newsom is very critical of Donald Trump bringing in the National Guard because he said you went over the governor. You did not, only the governor can do that. You're not supposed to do that. But at the same time, there is something that Gavin Newsom can do, and he's choosing not to do it. Now, here's the difference here, right? So the Republicans are a little bit more overt about supporting the police, right? Like, we're going to back those officers, et cetera. But the Democratic Party also supports the police. They're just not as overt about it. So this is the first part of the game. Now, let's go ahead to part 2 here. So I'm going to show you some of the things that I saw on social media. And I'm not even going to lie. This one right here, it says, this is the sickest thing a cyber truck will do. I'm not even going to lie. This was pretty clever. Like, just seriously, this was actually pretty clever. Watch this. Now, I can't play the sound because there's music and it says copyright. So I don't even know who owns the cyber truck or whatever. I do not know. But I just thought to myself, like, damn, that's pretty clever there, because that's, one of the cyber trucks, et cetera. That's a big FU, obviously, to the Trump administration. Now, I want to pause and say something here. It's very important that people do know that the media is going to run with the narrative that helps said party. So right-wing media is going to run with a narrative that's going to help the Republican Party. Liberal media is going to run with a narrative that helps the Democratic Party.
One of the things that really caught my interest was how individuals, we know about the paid protesters, the paid, activists. They're paid anywhere between $200 to $300. Individuals will go out and they will cause chaos. They will go out and cause shit to happen. Peep game. You will, if you look close enough, you can tell who they are, who those individuals are. I can 99.91% tell you that those activists were the ones who went up there and destroyed Kobe Bryant's mural, which to me was totally disrespectful and totally fucked up. Okay, Kobe Bryant did a lot for the city of Los Angeles and for the Lakers. You don't go do that shit. However, let's move forward. Let's look into things instead of looking at things. You get these paid activists to go out here causing havoc. To me, it was a political setup. And I'm going to talk about TikTok and Instagram, and I'm going to talk about all of that too. Let's continue to feast.
But what I have noticed when it comes to some of the videos that are being shown on corporate media, what they're not showing you is that from what I saw and talking to people who live there and were there, what I saw is that a lot of the escalation was started by the police. And a lot of times people, they don't see this, they don't capture this. Guys, this was going on back even in the 60s, right? There was the trial of the Chicago 7. And why were they on trial, right? Because during the DNC National Convention, there were protests outside of that convention. And there were people who were arrested. And they said, the courts and of course law enforcement said that the protesters started the escalation. They started the fight and the physicality, right? But what the evidence later showed was that it was the police who started that escalation. So keep that in mind when you do see these videos. And it's really interesting to me because when we go back to the George Floyd protests, this was another thing that I had pointed out to people as well. For those of us who did participate in those George Floyd protests, there were a number of cases where the protests were actually peaceful, but the media did not show you the peaceful protests for the most part. They showed you the ones where there was some type of violent activity. That is on purpose. And from what I've heard, talking to people who are there, most of the protests have been peaceful, but they're showing you the ones that have had altercations. So that's important for people to understand.
What they want to do is, when it comes down to it, you got race hustlers and you got those that cause division. You already have a lot of division right now within the Black community between Black men and Black women, okay? You already got that. Now you want to cause more division between Blacks and Hispanics. You see, I still got something to say about that, but I'm going to let the sister continue to cook because she's cooking right now. But we're painting the picture. We're setting the scene. We're setting the stage. Okay? It has always been that way. You have peaceful protests, but the news media would take certain things and spin it out of proportion and spin their own narratives. Okay? And before you know it, all hell is breaking loose. This is the time that we have to open up our eyes and our ears. Be careful the fuck you listen to. That's it, point blank. If it's something that doesn't sit well with you, it's simple. Do your research. It don't take much to research. I love being a conspiracy theorist. If I don't know something, I'm going to research it. A lot of times I have to be careful of what I say because I know people in high places. Don't get it twisted. I can find out so many things, especially about individuals if I choose to. You don't ever know who I know or who my family's connected with or who I'm connected with. On the flip side of that, you have to be careful of how you treat a person. Be careful of what you say to a person. Let's continue to feast.
For example, when you see these videos here of people looting. Now, let me explain something here. Here's another narrative that you'll usually hear on corporate media. Look at what these protesters are doing. You really believe the guys that just ran out of that store that were looting were a part of the protest? No. Guys, I saw this during the George Floyd protest. Remember, they put bricks around the area where protests were going to be. They put bricks outside stores to entice.
Hold on, sister. Certain stores and certain places, they will have these bricks and have these and have certain things positioned. Again, you have paid protesters, you have paid activists. I'm telling you, they will pay between $200 to $300. A group of individuals, that's their job, to go out there and start chaos. That's their job, to go out there and set the shit off. You say, why, big truck? Open up the door and make room for martial law. Y'all should go cop that book. Behold the Pale Horse. What's his name? By William Green. Go cop that book. I guarantee you. The things that are set in stone to take place, you might as well say they right on time with it. Just look. But then you have some individuals that will fall for anything and they will believe anything. That's a bad move. That's a very, very bad move.
This has been done so many times. And it was interesting to me how many people are falling for this. So there are two different things here. Let's not conflate the two. Don't look at this and say, oh my God, you see what those protesters are doing? Those are not protesters. But there are always people, and I've said this before as well, as someone who's an activist and organizer, there are always infiltrators as well too. But there are people who will put bricks outside of the stores the night before or the day of.
For those that are chiming in, I'm live on Rumble and live on YouTube. Put a number 1 in the chat so I know you here. Please, if you haven't already, subscribe, hit that notification so every time that I upload, you'll be the first to get an exclusive. Share the video. I'm telling you, your boy Big Truck is on fire. When you explain something You say, man, I never would have thought. Of course, because this is what they're not telling you. This is what they're not showing you. That's why you can't believe everything that you see on social media, especially the news media. The news media will look you dead in your motherfucking face and lie to you. You can see something happening in real time. But you have certain people that will say, you didn't see that. You didn't see that. Yeah, I did. I saw such and such. Like Maxine Waters, gaslighting the hell out of people. There's no rioting, there's no looting, there's no fighting, there's no this. But we're seeing it. But she telling you it's not. You didn't see nothing. Bullshit. So you have to use judgment, my brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen. You have to use judgment. That's why I really don't watch the news media, because a lot of the times they full of shit. They can know the truth, but don't share it. Because even those that work within the news media, they got to follow that oath. See, this is what happens, ladies and gentlemen, when you sell your soul to the things of this world, not knowing that when it's time to collect, the devil will collect.
So that people can pick up a brick and like just break into the stores and stuff like that. Like, there are always people that get into these protests and these movements to make it look like the protesters are doing these things. And then there are people who are going to take advantage of the situation. Yes, like if there are police like pushing back against people, they're fighting each other in the streets. Of course, there are going to be people that say, well, fuck it, I'm just going to go to the store and just grab some stuff. There are always going to be people that take advantage of that. 9 times out of 10, those people are not the protesters. But again, a lot of times corporate media isn't going to tell you this. What was crazy about these protests, and I saw this as well, someone shared this on social media, protesting in LA is on another level. So apparently they came prepared. First time in my life seeing hot dogs sold on the 101. I had to mute it because of the... Yeah, so they had hot dogs on the freeway. And I think in California, they refer to the interstate as the 101 or the 303. I think that's just a Cali thing, because like on the East Coast, we don't do that. We're just like I-95. But that was interesting that they were selling hot dogs out there. I guess they say, hey, people got to eat too, that type of thing.
I got one better. I got one better. I got one better. I got one better. I'm gonna go ahead and let her cook some more.
Now, here's another thing that a lot of them are not talking about. Put the protesters aside for just a second. Why are journalists being attacked? There were a number of videos that I saw where people who were just reporters who are doing their job, not someone who just went out there with their cell phone. I'm talking about actual reporters who were doing their job that were hit by the police. And here's one example I want to show you. LAPD shoots reporter live on air. See cop deliberately targeting a journalist. Now, she was hit with one of those rubber bullets. And she works for, it says here, 9 News. So again, this is not someone who just showed up with their cell phone. This is a legit, reporter. This is her job. Watch this.
Heart of LA.
Pause right here. We're going to stop right here. And you can imagine the rest. See this gentleman, this cop over here? See where the smoke is? He looked right at her and shot towards her. Journalists, obvious journalists standing right there in front of the camera. Now, why am I mentioning this? Doesn't this sound familiar? Doesn't this look familiar? Who else purposefully will attack journalists or even kill journalists? Israel. The IDF has done this to journalists that were in Gaza, and then eventually they stopped letting journalists come in. Why is that important? Who do you think the LAPD gets their training from?
Thank
The
you.
IDF. Who do you think the NYPD gets their training from? The IDF.
Thank
You
you.
see how some of the same practices that are used in the Middle East from the IDF.
And see, working in federal prisons and so forth, we get our training basically, I would say the same to a degree. When I worked at Twin Towers in downtown LA, I know this all too well. You know what I'm saying? But one thing I will say is that when a government do things, they don't make mistakes. It's meant to be done. It's planned. You have to pay attention. Okay. This is where we shift gears. This is where we get out of our feelings and emotions. Okay. So when certain things are being done or being said, you have to listen and pay attention to key phrases. Like I said, I got more to say because what I've been seeing on Instagram and TikTok, I'm like, okay. I see where they're going with this. I see how they spending this. Let's continue to feast. Like I said, we're breaking this thing down brick by brick. We're breaking it down to give you a clear overstanding, not understanding, overstanding. We're making it crystal clear to you so that you don't get sucked in by what you see on social media, what you see on the news media. Just like the scandemic had all y'all thinking COVID-19 was real, but it was nothing but a damn flu. But look how much money they made. But they looked you dead in your face. And many of you believed it. Answer me this. What the fuck does wearing a damn mask gonna protect you from? If something is in the air that's gonna get you, it's gonna get you. Social distancing. What the hell is that gonna do? If something gonna get you, it's gonna get you. But once again, this was old tricks that was used back in 1918 with the swine flu, where people had to wear masks and so forth. If you notice, ever since then, you don't hear nothing about STDs. You don't hear nothing about AIDS. Think about it. You really don't hear nothing much about that. Play off of what you don't know. And those that do know, they get silenced.
IDF are used here in the United States? Why aren't they telling you about this? Why isn't corporate media, all of them talking about the protests? Why aren't they calling out police officer who looked right at this woman? We'll go back here. I'll show you. Keep your eye on the left part of the screen. Right there, you can see.
Look dead
right
at
at her. Right at her. There he is right there and aimed right at her.
Mm-hmm.
She's not a protester. She's not attacking anybody. She's a reporter doing her job. Same tactics, fam.
Just in case you tell the truth.
This clip here. So again, what has been announced now is that 700 Marines are being sent to LA, I guess, to try to combat whatever all of this is. And another thing I want to say is, despite what people may believe, if you talk to people in LA, what you're seeing on video, all of these different like altercations is not happening in the majority of LA. The majority.
Certain individuals I've spoken to, and they said that you have individuals out there, but it's not like what the media is making it out to be. Let's be clear. So, okay. All right.
Majority of LA is not experiencing any of this at all. But the media wants you to believe it is. Watch this.
More than 700 U.S. Marines. More than 700 U.S. Marines have been mobilized to respond to protests in Los Angeles, some of which turned violent over the weekend. One county official called last night, quote, probably one of the most volatile nights in the city's recent history. Police declared all of downtown Los Angeles, an area of about 5 square miles, an unlawful assembly area after a third night of protests turned violent. The Los Angeles police chief late last night saying, quote, this violence that I've seen is disgusting, unquote. Some of the protesters, or more accurately, rioters, shot commercial-grade fireworks at law enforcement officers. Others set self-driving cars on fire. CNN witnessed police using flashbangs and tear gas to disperse crowds. Police.
Now, again, from what I have been told, talking to people in LA who were there, they said that it was the police who escalated first. They said the police attacked first. And like I said before, oftentimes on corporate media, you don't get that perspective.
Now, that can go both ways. Okay? That can go both ways with that. Because I'm going to tell you something from what my sources told me. An individual threw a water bottle at an officer, and that's what kicked it off. Okay? Again, it can go both ways. She's not wrong for what she's saying, because that does happen. But what me and Miss Sabrina are doing is opening up your eyes, opening up your ears, and saying that what they're telling you, okay, what they're telling you, what's happening, what's going on, this is this. But in reality, it's not. It's not. Let's continue.
So you would think all the years of protests that have happened in this country that people would have woken up to this by now. Let's continue.
Arrested 27 people just yesterday alone. All of this started on Friday. That's when Immigrations and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, conducted workplace raids in LA. The Department of Homeland Security said operations in LA last week resulted in the arrest of 118 undocumented immigrants, including 5 gang members and others with prior criminal histories of drug trafficking, assault, cruelty to children, domestic violence, robbery, and alien smuggling. The roots of this aggressive ICE activity last week may have been seen last month when top Trump aide Stephen Miller, sources tell CNN, demanded that immigration agents ramp up deportation efforts and seek to arrest 3,000 undocumented immigrants a day. 3,000, that's triple the number of daily arrests from the early days of Trump's term. In response to the ICE action in LA on Friday, some protesters began gathering outside the Metropolitan Detention Center. But as day turned to night, things got out of hand, not only downtown, but about 10 miles east in Paramount, California. Now, law enforcement says that protesters moved in on them and officers used flashbangs to disperse the crowd. The FBI's Los Angeles field office announced a $50,000 reward for information on a man that the LAPD says assaulted an officer and damaged property. Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass said ICE gave city officials no warnings of these raids, which
and we already pushed back on this in Sunday's live stream, where I said, you know, the mayor can say that there was no warning that they were coming. But honestly, the LAPD were already there before ICE even arrived, and they were assisting ICE. So the LAPD did know that they were coming.
The thing is, they didn't want y'all to know that. You see, they didn't want y'all to know that. Okay? Working in law enforcement, there's always going to be a tip off. Trust me. Somebody's going to always give you heads up. Hey, Like when we go do a cell extraction and we all geared up, we're not gonna let the inmate know what we gonna do. You see? No, we just gonna gear up and we gonna keep it among ourselves and we gonna show up. We gonna show up at night. We gonna show up at 1, 2, 3 in the morning. 5 in the morning. And do a cell extraction. You see? Let's continue to feast.
So Karen Bass, again, as the mayor of the city, you can fire the police chief. And that's where the other part comes in, right? Because when I tell you that a lot of this is political, believe me, because the reality is the Democratic Party right now is sitting back and they are relying on Trump doing this and just hoping, believe it or not, they're crossing their fingers, hoping that things continue to get people angry enough so that they can win in the midterms and they'll win in 2028. This is why they don't feel they need to change their way of doing anything or they need a new strategy per se. This is why they don't feel that they need to really do anything for the American people, even though they just lost to Donald Trump again, because they are just counting and like banking on Donald Trump being so atrocious that people will be so angry and that will turn into votes for them.
Let me give you another subnotch. Let me give you another thesis, right? You have a lot of the Hispanics, talking this shit about how come blacks aren't helping, how come blacks aren't standing by them, why blacks are falling back. If you really listen to the individuals that are speaking this bullshit, oh, okay, you a paid activist. They paid you to say that. Because ain't no real person out their mouth gonna say that shit. See, you got paid individuals that will go on social media and spill all this hate to keep that division going. I guarantee you, they would allow that shit to go so bad that don't buy none of their music. Don't buy none of their black music. Don't go to any of the games to see the black athletes. I mean, they would allow it to get that bad. But I just hope, I just hope that a large number of individuals don't feed into that bullshit and know what time it is. I love my Latin community because I'm half Islander and Caribbean. So I love my Latin community, no doubt. But people, listen. And listen how hard they go in the paint. You blacks ain't this, you blacks ain't that. I'm upset, I'm mad, I'm angry. You're not standing with us, blah, 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 blah. Pay attention. Facial micros, body language. It's not what you say, it's how you say what you say. Like, damn, y'all are paid. Y'all getting paid for doing this shit. We already figured y'all out.
This is all political. All political. Let's continue on a little bit more here. Gavin Newsom comes into the picture.
Made it difficult, if not impossible, to plan for quelling any spontaneous protests. Then on Saturday, President Trump took the rare, major step of deploying the California National Guard despite the objections of the Democratic governor of California, Gavin Newsom. This was the first time a president called in the National Guard without a state's request or consent since Lyndon Johnson did it in 1965. President Trump yesterday told reporters that any violence against any law enforcement officers is unacceptable.
I have a little statement. They say, they spit, we hit. And I told them, nobody's going to spit on our police officers. Nobody's going to spit on our military, which they do as a common thing.
Trump offended there by the notion of spitting on police officers or military while protesting immigration enforcement. He says that's not okay. We would be remiss if we did not point out that it was just 4 months ago that the very same president pardoned a different group for beating police officers while storming the U.S. Capitol to object to the 2020 election results. You will never hear Trump or top deputy Stephen Miller call that attack on January 6, 2021 an insurrection, but Stephen Miller did use that term to describe the protests in Los Angeles, calling it, quote, an insurrection against the laws and sovereignty of the United States. There are quite a few, shall we call them, evolving positions taken by Democrats and Republicans since a year ago, when some Democrats were urging President Biden to federalize the National Guard in Texas to stop that state's Republican governor's anti-immigration, illegal immigration efforts.
We skipped ahead here because I just wanted to get to this poll right here. Trump's deportation program. Look at this, guys. 55% U.S. adults like Trump's goals. 56% dislike Trump's approach. So what this poll tells you is that more than half like the goal that he has with deportation, but also more than half dislike his approach. Why is that important? Because when I tell you it's the same team, this is the perfect example.
Two separate wings of the same damn bird. Don't say nothing. Don't think nothing. It's not what you know, it's what you follow.
And what Jake Tapper was talking about there is like, oh, well, they feel like it's an insurrection in LA, but it wasn't on January 6th because it's all political. And a lot of what you're seeing right now is theater, right? So what do I mean when I say it's the same team? So first of all, get it out of your head that these are two different teams. They're not. Democrats and Republicans are not two different teams. They're on the same team, the same team. The poll is basically showing you that the majority of Americans agree with Trump's policy when it comes to deportation, but they don't like his approach.
And see, Trump approaches things from a business standpoint, and you have to understand how he moves because he's a businessman. You know, when you're doing business within it's almost saying you're a business owner. You have a business meeting, you know, to get more clientele or whatnot have you. And that person doesn't have their shit together. You give that person time. Still don't. You're going to run out of time. You're going to be impatient. Guess what? You know what? I'm going to go with somebody else because your shit is not together. I'm tired of hearing the stories. Some individuals got more excuses than a hooker going to church. Okay, I'm going to go deal with somebody else. If your stuff ain't right, your I's ain't dotted and your T's ain't crossed, or well, using that analogy, that's how he moves. Some like him, some don't. I stay out of politics because of what I know, but I will say this. Republicans, Democrats are two separate wings of the same damn bird. They will have y'all going, they will cause a division and have y'all at each other's throats while they sitting back, puffing the L, sipping on some Hennessy or some yak, laughing at y'all. Laughing at y'all. Trying to told you.
when I show you this graph, when I show you the votes and I show you the graph of ICE funding, you're going to find that when you compare the Republican and Democratic Party together, even on this immigration issue, you're going to see they're closer than what you would think.
Mm-hmm.
And when I look at these protests, and I've said it before, you know, it's interesting to me. Everybody wants to get out in the streets and protest against this now. But when you look at the numbers, Barack Obama deported more people than Donald Trump.
Yep.
Joe Biden deported more people than Donald Trump, although it is still Trump's first year and his second term. No protest. There were no protests when Biden was president and Haitians were being whipped at the border. Now, I covered that. And I noticed a lot of people who say they're lefty didn't cover that story. Why? Where were all those protests then? This is how you know it's political. Because here's the thing. If you're against ICE and you don't want them deporting people, then why weren't there protests when it was happening under Biden and when it was happening under Obama?
Because it's a setup, a political setup. Okay? When you have chaos and you have things going on, money's being made, money's being pushed. Let's paraphrase. You see what I'm saying? So you're going to need something. You're going to need something. And again, this is the great opportunity here. We're going to have this protest. We're going to pay individuals to go out there, start chaos. Not only that, but we're going to take it to social media. We're going to pay a group of individuals that would get on social media and go like this with each other. We're going to get some Hispanic women and Hispanic men to go at it with blacks. Then we're going to get some black men and black women to go at it with Hispanics. Oh, hell yeah. This is the perfect plot. This is perfect. Just to see them go at it. Because that's going to be a magnet to a lot of individuals. Yeah, we need to keep this division going. We need to keep the bullshit going. They're not going to find out. They'll never know. But that's where you're wrong. Because you have a large group of individuals, no matter what race they are, man or woman, that will sit back and do the research. They will sit back and look into things instead of looking at things. They will sit back and say, wait a minute, something is off. Something is wrong. Something don't feel right. Let me see what's going on. Let me tap into this. Let me see what this person is saying. Let me see what that person is saying.
We'll get into that more. Here's a guy here who says he's a former Marine, and he explains why he's there.
Aaron, you were saying you were a U.S. Marine?
I'm a Marine, proud to serve, baby.
How long did you serve?
2005.
What do you have to say about President Trump sending
It's
National
not
Guard?
right, bro. You know what I mean? This country and this state runs with immigrants. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm a son of parents that came from Mexico. You know what I mean? It's not right. It's not right. You could take the criminals away. You want to take hardworking people for, man. That's not cool. Not cool, bro.
So that's someone who is a former soldier in the U.S., right? Former soldier. And we'll get to the flag thing in a minute. So Gavin Newsom decides to respond. Here comes more politics.
What would be your message to him right now this evening?
Stand back, rescind this absurd, illegal, and immoral order. Let our military go home. The absurdity of threatening the people of the United States of America with their own military, our proud military, these remarkable men and women in uniform that do heroic work. Really proud of our Marines. I feel for them right now. I feel for our National Guard to be there in the fact that we had to send the PD, our local PD, to protect our own National Guard because they're being used as pawns. Mr. President, show some decency. Show some humanity. More importantly, act like the commander in chief. If you want to be president, you might as well play the part as president. At least fake it. Do the right thing. Stand back, and we'll clean up your mess.
Notice how he said, at least fake it. So here's the thing, folks. Okay. So when it comes to the National Guard, because Donald Trump is the one who made the order to send them in, he would have to be the one to rescind the National Guard, to tell them to come. Okay, you got to come back out. However, when it comes to the LAPD, that is the responsibility of Karen Bass and Gavin Newsom. Why is that important? Since California is a sanctuary state, LA is a sanctuary city, the LAPD, the police force, is not allowed to intervene to help ICE in deportations. So what the LAPD is doing right now is unlawful. So as much as Donald Trump has to be the one to pull the National Guard back and out of California, Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass are the ones that would need to check the LAPD. Exactly. And they're not doing that.
Nope.
Why isn't Gavin Newsom, during these interviews, why isn't he saying anything about the LAPD participating in something that's unlawful by assisting ICE in a sanctuary state? Why isn't he talking about that? Why isn't Karen Bass?
Because he got his hands in something. When a person is guilty and a person is up to no good, watch how they move. Listen to what comes out of their damn mouth. Okay? Why do you have so many individuals moving out of California? Oh, don't want to talk about that part, huh? Why is taxes so high in California? What you got brewing? Again, when it comes to Newsom, when it comes to Bass, okay, what's really going on? When it comes to Waters, Maxine Waters, what's really going on? What is it? But we're not even going to ask you. It's going to show. What's in the dark is going to come to light. God don't like ugly.
That's talking about that. You see, the Democrats, what they like to do is they like to sit back and say, let's just watch everything blow up. Let's watch everything blow up under the Republican Party, and we'll just point and say how bad they are, but they'll never tell you what they could do. And I'm seeing a number of people on social media call this out. A number of people who live in LA who are calling this out, and they're saying, why isn't Karen Bass and Gavin Newsom checking the LAPD for not following the law? And I'll tell you why. Because honestly, I think they want the chaos to happen. Because politically, it works.
And money comes in. Money comes in. Trying to tell you. And when Trump brought in the military, oh yeah, that pissed them off. Now you're messing with our pockets. Nigga, who you think you are? Why are you coming in fucking up what we got going on? We got something going on here and you messing it up. This is how they're thinking. This is where they're going with it. And I'm sorry that I had to speak in ghetto layman hood terms in order for those to understand, to fully get it. Like, whoa, okay, we didn't see this. Now you seeing it. Now it's beginning to make sense to where before it didn't make sense, and you was believing the news media, you was believing social media. Like I said, I love my Latinos. I love the Latin community. I got nothing but love and respect. And it's your boy Big Truck saying that. But all this division, all of this hate, and hate is such a disrespectful, strong word. To hate another race, to me, that's racist. All you got to do is read between the lines. Now we know who you are, and whose you are, and who's paying you. Let's continue to feast.
Politically, the more chaos, the more, craziness that's happening out in the streets right now, it works politically. They can just point fingers and they can just say, well, Donald Trump did all this because he brought in the National Guard. He brought in ICE. He started all of this. This is all on him to help the Democratic Party.
The blame
And
game.
Donald Trump can say, look at those pictures, and Republicans as well can look at these videos of them rioting out in the streets and hitting officers, etc. See what's happened in these blue states, these sanctuary cities, and that helps the Republican Party. The point is, both parties need each other to coexist. They bounce off of each other. They point fingers at each other and say how bad they are, instead of just focusing on ways that they can improve things for the people.
Kind of like that relationship. We call it accountability. Folk want to tell what other people do, but edit themselves. Instead of saying, I did this, I played my part in this, let's fix it, let's become better. You see, if you go and you read the book of Revelations, all this is in there. This ain't nothing new. And I say this, and I continue to say it. It's not about religion, it's about relationship. Continue to establish your relationship with the Most High, Yeshua HaMashiach, the Messiah himself. Continue to strengthen your relationship. Come out of those old traditions, those things that you were taught. Come out of all of that. Because you've been lied to. We've all been lied to. I've been lied to. You mean to tell me his real name was not Jesus? Whoa, what? I haven't said Jesus in years. The moment I became woke and I found out Yahweh, Yeshua, Yahweh, okay. Now it's making sense. And parts of the Bible was talking about us. Also, not just talking about us, but our identity as a Hebrew Jew. Open up your eyes, people. Better open them up. The word, the Torah, some say Bible. Yeah, everything pertains to man, but it also pertains to woman. So all the scriptures in the Torah, it pertains to both. I just had this discussion with some of my friends. And women like to quote this best scripture. He who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord, not knowing That's that's part of it. But that's a two-edged sword because you can also flip it. She who finds a husband finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord too. So it's two good people that are the prize that come together. See? Again, this is why we have conversation and reviews. This is why we talk. This is why we have adult conversation. I know I'm on limited time, but but we have to go on ahead and bring this thing to light, because what we're seeing on social media regarding the protests and stuff, if you ever notice what you seeing other content creators do, is something totally different from what you seeing being done on my platform. Why? Every content creator is different, and I give them their flowers, respect. And there's some great ones out there. And everybody comes at the same thing differently. And that's a good thing, because it gives you the opportunity to eat the meat and spit out the bones. Let's continue.
There have been multiple protests, anti-ICE protests in different cities in the country. Don't you find it interesting that the National Guard was only sent to LA? There's massive ICE protests in New York City. People getting into fights and altercations as well. Why wasn't the National Guard sent there?
Chicago.
It's all political.
Texas.
Even this message from Bernie Sanders, which people really, God, they chewed him out for this. Bernie says Dr. King defeated racist government officials and ended segregation through disciplined, nonviolent resistance.
No, but also Dr. King, he opened up the doors for protests. He opened up the doors to fight for what is right. And what do you think other races get that from? Thank you. So they get it from blacks. If you trace it back, it comes back to Martin Luther King. It comes back to Malcolm X. It comes back to Marcus Garvey. And so forth. Standing up for what is right. Freedom. The human race. We are going to agree to disagree. But we do our protest the right way, not the wrong way. I'm quite sure that I can vouch for other individuals when I say you don't need martial law. Because if you have martial law, how does that look? Giving a grown-ass man and woman a damn curfew. Giving an adult a curfew. And we know most don't know how to keep their ass in the house. It's gonna be that one that's gonna come out. It's gonna be that one. Gonna mess around, you're gonna find out. It shouldn't even get to that. That's what I'm saying. When you use wisdom, you move quietly and strategically. You use discernment, you use wisdom. You know where to go, where not to go, what to say, what not to say, how to move, when to sit down, when to speak, when to shut up.
Defeating Trumpism, oligarchy, and authoritarianism requires the same level of discipline. Violent protests are counterproductive and play right into Trump's playbook. So let's break this down. First part, this part here about Dr. King. First of all, as for Dr. King, towards the end of his life, he questioned if that was the right approach. Towards the end of Dr. King's life, he started to question if the nonviolent thing was actually the right thing to do, because what Bernie Sanders does not mention is that Dr. King had nonviolent protests. And while him and other civil rights activists were nonviolent, they were getting their heads bashed in. They had dogs sicked on them. They were being sprayed with those fire hoses. They were thrown into jail. Bernie doesn't mention that part.
They was getting hands put on them. They was getting done. They was getting done up in the worst way. You see, the things that individuals go through, whether it was unnecessary things or necessary, either way, either or, you still went through them. Could it have been done a different way? Of course.
And Bernie was a part of
or Palantir's sinister, dystopian, information gathering AI, because there were protests in San Diego. And I'm sure the majority of y'all didn't hear about them, did you? There were also protests in Chicago this past weekend. There were also protests, smaller protests, in Houston. All of these protests happened within 7 days of each other. And yet the only one we saw being discussed nonstop by this administration and by the news is the one that happened in LA.
The one in LA. Everybody see it now, right? So again, the idea is to provoke the people, then make it look like the people are incredibly violent. Thus, we need to increase the police state. Thus, we need to increase surveillance. Let's get more data on people and track people and watch people. But this happens under both parties.
We can't even talk. Let's not even talk about that. That's already been done. They've already been doing it. You just didn't know it. They've already been doing it.
Don't forget surveillance increased under the Obama administration as well. Both of them like to spy on us. Both of them. And now a number of people are sitting back now and they're wondering, well, if we had Kamala, this would have never happened. We would not be deporting people. You sure about that? A reminder of how Kamala Harris decided to discuss the border. Don't forget, she ran to the right on immigration.
You're doing this compromise bill. It does call for $650 million that was earmarked under Trump to actually still go to build the wall.
I'm not afraid of good ideas where they occur.
So you don't think it's stupid anymore?
I think what he did and how he did it did not make much sense, because he actually didn't do much of anything. I just talked about that wall, right? We just talked about it. He didn't actually do much of anything.
But you do want to build some wall.
I want to strengthen our border.
Don't forget that. Don't forget, when it came to immigration, she ran to the right on immigration. And now all of a sudden, Democrats want you to forget that that didn't happen. It did happen. And there's a reason for that. Now, she may not have operated in the exact manner that Donald Trump did, right? She probably wouldn't have sent in the National Guard, like that type of thing. But she still would have participated in deportations just like Biden did, just like Obama did, which I'm tired of people sweeping that under the rug. They're all on the same team.
She would have did it a different way. And again, you would have Democrats and Republicans doing things differently, but the meaning would still be the same. The outcome would still be the same. You feel what I'm talking about?
Now, somebody sent this to me. Shout out to Tim Black for this one, because he said something in this clip that everybody needs to think about. Think about this for a second.
You could have got rid of ICE if you really wanted to. Biden was president for 4 years. Why didn't y'all work on getting rid of ICE? Why didn't you work on getting rid of ICE? Why didn't Biden write an executive order to obliterate ICE? I mean, I get it. Trump, USAID agency, crushed the EPA, all these other organizations, right? People talk about Trump, but why didn't liberals, when in power, do some different things? Why didn't they go and implement things their party wanted? Folks, I'm telling you, as we go through the course of this, I want you to pay attention to the fact that consider, maybe Democrats don't want to win, they just want chaos. I mean, you can complain every day about the room being dirty. You can complain every day about the kids on the screens, or you can just take the screens. Maybe you like complaining. Maybe it's become a feature, not a bug. I'm just saying.
Maybe it's because they're on the same team.
And somehow, some way, they are having each other's back, as always. But to the Americans, to the individuals out there, they would have y'all thinking, this division, they don't like each other, they hate each other. But at the end of it all, they're still working together. I believe now people are starting to see it. Say, well, big truck, what's the solution? Don't participate. There it is. When you fall back and you don't participate in foolishness, there you go. Because when things begin to happen, you'll already see it. You will see it coming a mile away. I'm not going to participate in that because I already know what time they own. Now I know who they are and whose they are. Now I know how they operate. Oh. When you know how a person moves, you gonna move differently. You gonna think differently. You gonna speak differently. You gonna eat and sleep differently. You gonna have more peace. You're going to enjoy living your best life every day. You're not going to allow things to stress you out. I be having conversations with people and they say what you stress for? Why do you choose to allow things to stress you out? They say, Truck, how you doing? I'm living my best life. That's my attitude. The moment I wake up, I predict what that day gonna be like. I put it in the atmosphere. I put it in the universe of how that day is going to be the moment I wake up. Before I do my prayer and my worship. Because I made an executive decision. I made a choice. I made a choice to have the best day of my life. I made a choice. My options has options. I made a choice. I am a masculine king. I am a leader. I'm a protector. I'm a provider. I'm a lover. I'm a fighter. I'm a man that worships. I'm a man that stands up for things that are necessary and for what is right. I'm about culture. I'm about food. I'm about family. Don't get it twisted. I ain't no fool either. When it's time to bless people with these hands. I'll bless them with these hands. But when it's time to humble myself, let's continue.
So let's dive into this, folks. Let's dive into them being on the same damn team, okay? Did you know that 75 Democrats joined Republicans to express gratitude to ICE agents and call for greater local and state collaboration with ICE? Did you know that? Now, we always expect there's always a few Democrats that decide to, vote along with the Republicans, usually maybe like one or two, sometimes three, that type of thing. 75? That's a lot. 75,
Yeah, it is.
75.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
75 of them. It's all political. This is a show. They're on the same team.
Yeah, it is.
Here's another one. I want you to look at ICE funding. I want you to see how ICE funding has been bipartisan. Actually, let me pop out because it's bigger this way. Check this out. The red is Donald Trump's budget. The blue is Biden's budget. So let's just look at this for a second, folks, okay? 2016, let's start 2018. You'll see Trump 7.5 billion, 8.1, 8.5, 8.4, 8.4. We get into the Biden administration of 2022. 8.9, 9.1 billion, 9.9 billion, 10 billion. Why are the Democrats giving more money to ICE if they don't want ICE to come and deport people? Both parties boosting and increasing funding to ICE. Maybe they're on the same team. The Boston Celtics. I know we lost. I get it. Boston Celtics, for example, they're a team. The Boston Celtics is opposition to the LA Lakers. They're opposition to the Knicks. They're opposition to any other team that they're playing on that court at that time.
Come on.
Any other team.
Come on, sister.
The Democratic Party, the Republican Party, they're not two different teams. They're the same team.
Thank you.
So if you're the Celtics, you have your starters that are on the court, and you got the people that got to sit on the bench.
You got your bench.
This is what it is. You also have cheerleaders cheering you on. When we compare this to Dems and Republicans, they're not true opposition because the cheerleaders are the voters. The cheerleaders are the voters, and they're out there, rah, 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 rah. Right now, the Republicans are on the court because they have the White House, the House, and the Senate.
And the
Democrats are on the bench.
Mm-hmm.
People get it twisted. People think these are two different teams. They're not two different teams. If they were two different teams, you'd be trying to win. You wouldn't try to just do a little bit here at a time. You would try to beat them, destroy them. When you go out on that court and you're playing against another team, you're trying to win.
That part.
You're not trying to go along just to get along. They're not true opposition because both of these parties need each other to exist. They bounce off of each other.
Yes, they do.
And they exist as one to maintain the status quo and to protect corporate interest, not yours.
And they don't want you to think that. They don't want you to figure them out. That's like a person that's a thief that steals. Person steals. And you let them know that they steal. You notice how they act? How they respond? It's almost like, how did you know? Who told you? How did you? Your patterns. Your patterns tell me so. Think about it.
What you see happening right now in LA. This is all political. You see, the Democrats can sit back and say, oh my God, look what Donald Trump is doing. This is why you got to get us back in there so we can fix it. And then they win and they get back in there and they don't really change. They don't change anything that's going to improve and impact people's lives, right? They'll give you a couple crumbs here or there.
No, what they do is they move in their agenda. You notice how so many individuals try to put that Prop 25 on Trump when Trump had nothing to do with that. But again, these things people are pushing. That's why you have to be, oh my gosh, people, let's go. Let's go.
After the play was over, unsportsmanlike conduct.
But they don't make drastic changes that's going to actually improve things. If they did, our homelessness rate wouldn't continue to increase, even under their leadership.
Exactly. Because right now, LA has a big homeless problem. From LA to Vegas to the East Coast, there's a big homeless problem right now. How come they're not doing anything to fix that? Don't worry, I'll wait.
People wouldn't have medical debt. People would be dying because they can't get medical treatment. That's what's happening. Karen Bass, Gavin Newsom right now, they're both sitting back and they're like, oh, I told you guys. See, this guy is wild. He's a madman. Meanwhile, they're not telling you what they can do. They're not telling you how they can hold the LAPD accountable for breaking the law.
And they're not going to hold LAPD accountable for breaking the law. Okay? So trust me, Newsom, Bass, Waters, it wouldn't surprise me if they're making a bag out of this. They're getting money out of this.
See how this game works? And then honestly, I'm going to be honest with you. Both of them play this game because at the same time, Donald Trump sent in the National Guard and obviously sounded an alarm to send in 700 Marines into LA. That also, in a sense, helps the Democrats. Because even though Obama and Biden had more deportations, they did it in a more covert way. Donald Trump does it in a loud, overt way, so it gets a lot of media attention. And then everybody hears about it. Oh my God, I didn't vote in 2024. I'll make sure I'll come out this time. And everybody just keeps falling for the same old game.
And we got to stop that. We got to stop that, people. You got to stop falling for the banana in the tailpipe. You have to stop falling for the okie doke. And this is why I chose to do this live broadcast and share. I know, see, I got thing, I got a client, but I chose to share. Okay? Because now it opens up your eyes and your ears. Now it says, wait a minute. Now it's clicking. The light bulb is coming on. So with that being said, lovely men and women, continue to grow, continue to learn, continue to pull back. Let's get back together. Let's get back to love. Let's get back to us. Let's get back to having conversations with each other. Let's get back to spending time, enjoying each other's presence. Let's get back to the basic things. When was the last time you had a home-cooked meal? Let's get back to the basics, because it was the basics that meant so much. It was the basics that opened up the doors for everything else. Again, don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share. Hit that notification button so every time that I upload, you'll be the first to get an exclusive. See you on the next one. It's your boy Big Truck One.